Hey, this is Scott Spears, and I'd like to welcome you to yet another edition of The Exchange, and our political season continues on because it just keeps getting more interesting as the weeks go by. So glad to be joined this week again, as we are each and every week, by Matt Morgan and the 40th Treasurer of the United States, Mary Ellen Withrow, and joined for the second time, I believe, on this program by Christian Pearson, who, again, I think this is such a feather in the cap of Marion, Ohio, is the youngest delegate headed to the Democratic Convention in just a couple weeks now. It is coming up very quick. He will be the youngest delegate in the country of the nearly 4,000 headed to Chicago here in just a couple weeks. And actually, Christian, after your last appearance here, it was interesting. You did this show, the television program, on Wednesday, and Friday morning I got contacted by somebody from the Columbus Dispatch who wanted to talk with you. Did anything ever come of that?
Yeah. She caught me as I was packing up my hotel room in Boston, so probably should have waited to take that phone call, but we talked and she wanted to know more about me and sort of why I was in this. So yeah, it was a really good conversation.
So there'll be, I would imagine, something coming out eventually.
Yes, I would think so, but I haven't heard much about that.
Well, very nice. I'm glad to hear that word is getting out, because I think it should get out. Regardless of what side of the political spectrum you're on, that's a very, it's a great accolade to have that from Marion, Ohio. Still in high school, getting ready to go back?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Excited for your senior year?
Yeah, I would say so. We've got, a week from tomorrow.
Week from tomorrow. It all rolls in.
Yeah.
Now, will you just be taking time off from school when you go?
Yes.
I bet your government teacher will be happy.
Yes.
Yeah, about this. This is quite an experience. Yes. And I should mention, I don't think we said this last time, and we should say it, that while Christian is in Chicago for the Democratic Convention, he'll be calling in reports for us, which we're looking forward to that. You can't get any better than that. Live reports from the Democratic Convention on this station. So stay tuned that weekend. The dates again are, Christian?
It'll be August 19th to the 23rd. That will be Monday through Thursday.
That's coming up very, very shortly. Now, one thing, big news this week, is certainly Minnesota Governor Tim Wells was chosen as the vice presidential candidate for Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, most people were not predicting this. We heard Shapiro from Pennsylvania. I think the odds makers had him in the lead. We heard about Kelly from Arizona. These were both states that Harris hopes to win. Certainly Pennsylvania. But it came down to Wells in the end. When you heard the announcement, Mary Ellen, what did you make of this?
Well, I hadn't heard of him either. I didn't know him from anything, and I was so impressed with him when I heard him speak. And what impressed me the most was that he was president of the Governors Association, because I had been president of the Treasurers Association, and I know what that means. And so I just was really thrilled with him. I just felt good.
Why do you think she went with somebody who was really not even talked about as hardly at all prior to this?
She liked him.
She liked him.
Yes, she liked the fact of what he stood for, what he had done, which is a lot of things that she was interested in, and I just think they will work well together.
Does a vice president sway voters?
Oh, yes. I think in this case it's very important. And, I don't know in sometimes in the past that it has, but I think this time it will.
Now, Christian, what did you make of this choice? We talked just Friday night, live on the air, about who it was going to be. We knew this announcement was coming very soon. This was not a name we talked about.
No, it was not. His stock has really risen in the last couple of days. As soon as we had the switch on the ticket, he has been on national TV so much, and I think just the fact that he's been so combative and he's really, had a good message for Democrats, a good rallying cry, just that has really gotten people to support him, and that's drawn more light on what he's been like as governor. He's been governor of Minnesota for the last 5 or 6 years. That's much longer than Josh Shapiro, who was just elected. He was sworn in a year and a half ago, and the vice president wanted a governing partner and someone with real experience, and Tim Walz has that. So I just thought that was a great choice, and it seems to have really energized the base.
You know what's interesting? It's spelled Walz, and just to tell you how new he is on the scene, this morning in all the newspapers, which today we're taping this the day after he was announced, they even had how it was pronounced phonetically. Because people are unaware of who he is, but they're going to be aware very soon.
Yes, I was saying Waltz until,
Yeah, Walz is what,
a day ago. So.
Yeah, but it's Wells.
Really?
No, is it Wells? It's Walz.
Yes,
Walz.
it's
Walz, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not Wells.
Tim Walz.
Tim Walz. Walz, but
Yeah.
pronounced Walls.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's like it's got an S on it, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matt, what did you make of this choice? Certainly not a name that was thrown out there, and I think we all kind of got led to believe that it was going to be Shapiro when she said she was going to make the speech in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Make the announcement in Philadelphia.
I thought that it was probably going to be Shapiro, judging from the fact that she needed to win. Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
But I was not expecting.
Walz.
Waltz.
Governor
So it is Walz.
It is Walz.
It had me messed up all there because
Yeah.
there was a whole conversation.
How about
like
Wells?
just now.
Walz. No, it's Walz. Walz. Governor Walz.
Okay, so yeah, I did. I was not expecting Governor Walz because she needed to win Virginia. I thought Shapiro was going to be the pick, judging by the fact that he is popular in Virginia.
Pennsylvania.
Sorry, I don't know why Virginia.
I know there's a lot of states going on here. A lot of states and a lot of governors. Got to keep it
Too
straight.
much going on.
We got to win them all.
Got to win them all. Well, I'll tell you something interesting. The speech was given last night. Now, again, we're taping this on Wednesday. You're probably seeing this on Friday for the first time. But there were 4 quotes that I wanted to concentrate on that, and trust me, he gave some interesting quotes in that speech.
He did.
Let's start with, I think, the one that came first. Walz, who has put a lot of effort into protecting abortion rights and the rights of LGBTQ people as governor of Minnesota, was delivering a message about autonomy in Minnesota. And I believe this is what he said. In Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and their personal choices that they make, Walz said, even if we wouldn't make the same choices for ourselves. There's a golden rule. Mind your own damn business.
Yeah.
Well, that was interesting, Mary Ellen.
Yes.
We don't usually hear that from
No.
a candidate.
No, but you know, his way of speaking was so comfortable. I just really loved to hear him speak, and then the thing about the couch.
The couch.
I thought that was so good. I really liked that.
And you could tell that when he was talking about the couch that Kamala was trying to hold back
Yeah, right.
a laugh because
Yeah.
she was in the background. Here's well, this is one of the quotes, and we'll give this to you here, and we'll just talk about them both at the same time. Walz threw down a debate challenge for J.D. Vance. This is what he said. I gotta tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy, he said. That is, if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. Now, this is, there's a little backstory to this.
Yeah.
In his book, Hillbilly Elegy, there's a rumor that he says something in regard to a couch and himself. It's been proven that it's not in there, that he didn't do anything with a couch, but it's become a bit of a joke now, and that's where that came from. You'll have to look up what he did with or he didn't do with a couch, or what. I don't know where it came from. Where did that come from, Christian? You've had to hear this. Well, but he didn't do it. It's not in the book.
Yes, I believe that's confirmed. But
Yeah, he
I
hasn't
think,
done
President Johnson once said that if you need to make someone deny something, and if they have to deny something, then they're losing. So I think that was just really smart by whoever on social media started that rumor. But I want to talk about the last quote about mind your own damn business.
Mind your own damn business. I bet that's a shirt.
Yes,
somewhere.
It soon will be, and I hope the one of his mugshot from the early '90s becomes one, because I would buy that.
Oh yes, I
But,
saw
Oh, there is that as well. Yes.
But that's well and beyond the point. Mind your own damn business. We've seen, the Republicans, they claim to be the party of small government, or at least at one point they did. I was actually looking up their platform before I came, and I put a keyword search in for the term small government, and I didn't see it. So they may have stopped believing in that. But they really want to be in your business, like Republicans in Ohio. They want to make it, or they wanted to make it harder to, for the people to make changes with the state constitution. They changed the rules for Supreme Court races, so they showed party affiliation, and this "mind your own damn business" quote. It's more of showing how Republicans have, the party of small government. They have taken so much power that we normally hold. They've won it for themselves because they're afraid of losing it. So they have to cling on to it by any means necessary. So by Governor Walz saying, we need to mind our own damn business, that's sort of showing Democrats are now the party of smaller government. We want people to have the power to make their own choices. Well, whether that's bodily autonomy, who they want to vote for, things like that. That's showing the a heavily increasing contrast that's popping up.
Matt, mind your own damn business and get off the couch. What do you make?
Oh,
They definitely are not holding back. They're flying right in there.
Yeah, no, I think that I think that those are good quotes. I mean, I think that if Kamala and Walz keep badgering, I suppose, Trump and Vance for a debate, I think that eventually they'll cave in, because they just seem like the kind of people to cave into that kind of thing,
Mary Ellen is you remember back during the 2012 election, Mitt Romney and not Mitt Romney, 2008, John McCain and Sarah Palin, and it was said that Palin was his attack dog, so he could be nice. John McCain could be the nice guy. Sarah Palin would go out and say these horrible things about Obama. Is Walz Harris's attack dog with statements like these?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yes. I can't get over how good she is as a speaker. She's just doing it perfectly.
Now, it was said that one of the reasons, and we don't know how true this is, that in their meeting, when Harris met with all these candidates, that the statement in which Walz had said when he was on television just a few days prior about the candidates Vance and Trump being weird really helped for whatever reason. And another quote from the event last night: "These guys are creepy and yes, just weird as hell."
Yeah.
Walz said of Trump and Vance. You don't hear that in a... I was thinking of a campaign speech. That's the quote. Walz said in this speech, "These guys are just creepy and yes, weird as hell."
Well, I mean, you really want things that you can put on a bumper sticker, and these are
that'll be a bumper sticker. Mary Ellen, are you going to put that one on your car?
No.
No, that's a different one.
But yeah, I mean, you want things that are very easy rally cries. They're easy for people to associate things with. I know the Republicans are trying to turn this into an attack on all Republicans, like Hillary Clinton's basket of deplorables comment, things like that. But will be really hard for a lot of voters to disassociate the terms J.D. Vance and weird now, partially because of Tim Walz. And I think that's going to be really helpful to the Democrats.
Matt, we talked about how ugly this could get, and everybody said this is going to get ugly. Is it getting ugly?
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly not cleaned up any since Biden dropped out of the race. It's cleaned up a little bit, but it's still not, it's still not, real nice. I think the election cycle is, it just seems like there's an awful lot of bashing of all the candidates going on, and that's,
But last night when the audience said lock them up, they turned it off. They're not going to let that happen. And I think the other statement is we're not going back. That could be on my bumper.
I saw that because they had a big rally. I think it was in Detroit.
By the way, they had a tremendous crowd in Philadelphia. They were enthusiastic. Say what you will about whatever's going to happen. That crowd was wired.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and they had I think it was either in Wisconsin or Detroit. I'm not sure, but they had thousands of people and this big open space outside chanting, "We aren't going back."
You're not
And,
going back.
I've seen a lot of people on the internet are saying this is like Obama 2008. I haven't seen this level of excitement since. And all of those comparisons are going to remind people of, President Obama was the hope and change candidate. And, people want something to cling to. That's why everyone got so excited when the vice president started her campaign, was because she was something new. This was not going to be a Trump-Biden election again. And if she can give people something to get excited about, people are going to choose hope, all the time.
I'll tell you something there's an opinion piece in the USA today, if people would like to read it, and I find these opinion pieces done by columnists very interesting. And it talked about how Kamala Harris was not a likable or popular vice president. But for whatever reason, and Matt and I had a big discussion about this last Friday, what has made her the new Obama? Because it is that, people can deny it all they want. When you look at the fundraising, when you look at the voter registration, when you look at the people who have registered to volunteered, the volunteer rate, 11,000 people, Christian has the numbers here, 11,000 people in 12 days in Ohio volunteered.
That's amazing.
That's unbelievable, because you had Biden on the ticket. It's not like somebody wasn't running. You had the current president on the ticket, and you had a senator who's been here for a long time running, and not that kind of volunteerism. Why taking her from the bottom to the top has it made her a superstar and able to draw 10,000 people in Georgia and the crowd last night? And by the way, as we sit tonight, in just 15 days, Biden was 8 points down on average in the national polls. Harris is nearly 2 points up. That's a 10-point swing. And by the way, she's up in Michigan by nearly 2 points. She's up in Pennsylvania. Now it's just by I don't think it's a percentage point, but she's up in Pennsylvania and up in Wisconsin, where the Republicans just had their convention. What makes her a superstar as the top of the ticket, and part of what Democrats clearly thought was a losing ticket, not work so well?
I would make the argument that we have a reinvigorated sense of how important this election is now. I feel like a lot of Democrats, after they saw the president's debate performance, they were of the opinion, it's time to hang it up. Let's wait till the convention. Let's see if he can, make any drastic changes. And now that we have a candidate at the top of the ticket who, can speak in public a lot better, she can convey the Democratic message much better. Just, I think everybody knows, how important this election is, and like I just said, they want change. They, I'm sure with the president, his campaign message was, let's keep doing the work, let's keep changing the country for the better. But, change, he was not going to change himself.
Mary Ellen, what do you make of that?
Well, she was not covered as a vice president. I think that's where she improved, and I don't know if somebody has been working with her, but that could have been too. But she is definitely good.
It's
just the best I've heard for a long time for a woman.
What's very interesting? When we talk about Obama, his first big test came in the primary against Hillary Clinton in 2008, and it was, I remember it very well, it was, who was campaigning for Hillary? It was Bill Clinton, it was Madeleine Albright, it was the faces you had seen before.
Yeah.
And Obama brought the volunteers. He brought the money in that Clinton, for some reason, could not do. And it's almost the same thing here. Biden was the establishment. He was the sitting president. But he could not get the volunteers. The money had all but dried up after the debate. And yet she steps in, and volunteerism records are broken. Fundraising records are broken. It's almost like deja vu of 2008.
I don't remember Obama being as powerful as this.
I don't think he was, but I think...
I don't remember that. You keep referring to that, you and Christian, but I don't remember him being that powerful. He was a good speaker, but I guess it's because she's a woman. It does more for me.
Could be.
You know?
And I think it was partially because he overtook Hillary Clinton, who everybody thought was a shoo-in, and he was able to do that. Because at that time, he's basically virtually an unknown.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But he did it for
Yeah,
whatever reason.
Yeah, he was a really good speaker. Yeah.
So you believe this is more powerful than Obama was?
Yes, I do. I don't know. Maybe it's just affecting me more. I don't know. But to me, it's amazing.
There's a big point, and we're going to save that for the second half of this show, but we're going to come back to that, Mary Ellen, and I think that's a very valid point, and there's another politician who, as of late, who's also making that point, who we're going to talk about next half hour.
Okay.
The fourth quote I want to make sure we get in, because I think maybe this is the rivalry to the change. That's Obama. He was hoping change. This is we're not going back.
Yes.
The rival to that. The other quote that Walls said, he delivered the message, "We've got 91 days. My God, that's easy. We'll sleep when we're dead." Is that the message here? And at this point, 90 days to go. We're gonna roll.
I like it.
Yeah, it's nice.
Well,
Nice.
That got a big reaction.
Yeah, I mean, on to what Mary Ellen said, you say you don't feel, as you weren't as impacted by President Obama's campaign as you are by this one. I would argue then the stakes weren't as high. You weren't.
No, that's
you weren't
it.
against Trump.
That's it. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now you have and on what you were saying, Scott, about the president not being able to secure volunteers. Anytime you're out knocking doors, it's hard to do it against someone who has had so much negativity spewed around them. That's so difficult, because the first thing people will think of when you say, "Hi, I am at your door asking you to vote for Joe Biden," are going to quote some attack ad they see on TV. With Kamala Harris, that just simply hasn't been out there, and I guess that's maybe the only advantage of her not being in the media more as the vice president. People don't know much about her, so of course their first opinion of her will almost certainly be positive. But we'll sleep when we're dead. This is excitement. This is, we want to knock doors. We want to make phone calls. Because the stakes are just so high.
History's kind of important, and I'll tell you what this made me think of, because these are powerful quotes, no doubt about it. That's why we brought them up here. But they are also clearly attack quotes. There's no doubt about it, and some of them are directed very specifically outright toward Trump and Vance. And I remember the convention in 2016 when Trump was on the scene for the first time and saying all the things that he said. And Michelle Obama gave this speech that was so lauded at the convention. When they go low, we go high.
Yeah.
Those days over?
We've tried.
I've been going high, I guess, didn't work.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I
we've
don't
tried
think
that.
we're low.
I'm not saying it's
I think we're just being fair.
fair. Well,
Yes.
I don't think these are necessarily low, is what I would say.
No.
But I think the creepy, weird as hell comment might be interpreted as low.
Well, my gosh, what has Trump said?
Well, that's it.
I mean,
and I'm not saying it's on par with what Trump has said,
he's,
but
he's crazy.
But
Yeah.
did the Democratic Party learn a lesson here, that you
Yes.
can't let somebody continually attack you and just say, "I'm taking
Yes.
the high road"?
Yes,
Right.
I was doing some reading in the past few weeks, and when President Obama came in, he had this huge majority and everything. He wanted to be a unifying president. And what did Republicans do on his inauguration day? They all came together and they were talking about how can we make him a one-term president.
Yeah.
So I think ever since that point, Democrats they can't be of this mindset that we have to extend a hand to them. I think they're starting to realize for once that playing dirty works, and people respond to that.
Well, so you think it is dirty?
Well, I guess stooping to their level, because if you
It's
aren't
not there yet.
because if you aren't on the same playing field as them, or at least to some extent, then you just won't be in the fight.
Well, here's the interesting thing, I guess, is what who's to say what's low and what's not at this point?
I think it's just nice.
Just nice, just a nice day in the park. But what I think's interesting is we have a woman again deja vu with Hillary Clinton 2016. As somebody was saying the other day, Hillary, when she was running in that debate with Trump, when Trump followed her, even Hillary has now said, I wish I could have turned around and said, back off, creep. But she was living by that. When they go low, we go high. I don't want to be seen as a hysterical woman, I think is what she said.
Yeah.
I don't think that would happen now.
No, Hillary was very, what's the word? It's so different than what Kamala is. Kamala's relaxed.
Hillary was measured.
Hillary was kind of uptight all the time. And it was because of being the first woman, I think, had a lot to do with it. And she knew what the press could do to her. And, she had a different approach than Kamala.
Well, I think when you are the first, you don't know. She thought she would win with that approach of being presidential, is what it was called at that time.
Yeah.
Turns out she didn't win. So Kamala has the luxury of hindsight to see what did happen.
Yeah.
And I think that helps a lot, don't you, Matt? Because I don't think if Trump walks up behind Kamala that it's just going to be a turnaround and a look.
No.
After this, I don't think you're going to see that.
Well, I mean, I think that's probably true. I think that, I think that Hillary probably didn't really know what the best course of action was, judging because, like you said, she was the first. Nobody had ever done it before. So, I mean, since she's the first, obviously, no woman had ever won. So, like, there's nothing really to look at as far as winning records go. And Kamala has the opportunity to look back at Hillary Clinton's campaign and see what went wrong there and what turned people off.
Now, it's interesting. You and I were having the discussion, and I wanted to bring Mary Ellen and Christian in on this, about Kamala's popularity, because nobody's doubting her popularity. As again, we've seen the numbers, we see the poll numbers as of where we are now. But now you say what has made her popular is the situation. Biden getting out and her coming in. I feel that this is the person. I don't think you could have dropped anybody else in there. And as a matter of fact, I thought the situation worked against her in a way. I mean, that's not the best way to come in to a presidential race. But what was your case, Matt, on situation?
So I think that had Kamala run at the very beginning and Biden did not run a campaign, I think that she would have been good. I think that she probably would have beat Trump like I think she will currently. But I think that there wouldn't have been as much. I don't know how to it's coverage. I guess there wouldn't have been as much. It wouldn't have been such a as big of a thing because there wouldn't have been the whole thing where everybody was bashing Biden and wanting him to drop out, and then he did drop out after saying he wasn't going to. And then, all of the endorsements for Kamala flooded in. Everything just happened so fast that I think it invigorated the Democratic Party.
We got 2 minutes, Christian. What do you think? Person or situation?
I would contend that the situation definitely helped.
Didn't hurt.
Within the Democratic Party, pressure was just so high after that debate for something big to happen, and that was the big move. But I would.
But could you have dropped somebody else in there?
No, because she has been she's been around for 4 years. She was been a pretty influential U.S. senator. She ran a presidential campaign of her own. She has been there at all the right moments. So even though this is her first time, basically at this as the nominee, she knows exactly what to do, and she's been there when of all the highs and lows of this administration. So she can run on those.
So you're saying person or situation?
I would argue more situation, or no, I would argue more person with some aspects of situation.
Mary Ellen, is she a juggernaut because of her situation or because of who she is?
Well, I think it's because of who she is, because she couldn't have done this unless she had the way to do it that she does. I mean, I have never seen a woman give a speech that as good as she does. And I've seen a lot of women, senators, all of the people in government. I've never seen anybody as good as her.
And we're going to talk about that excitement factor and another politician from years past. You're going to hear about this right after this short but important break. Hey, Scott Spears back here. Time is going by fast. Joined by 40th President of the United States, Mary Ellen Withrow, Matt Morgan, and Christian Pearson, who is headed to the Democratic Convention, youngest delegate in the country right here from Marion, Ohio, and will be calling in reports that week from the Democratic Convention. We look forward to that. Now, I teased it before we went to break. There's a politician from yesteryear who's getting involved in this election. When Kamala became the nominee, Bill and Hillary were really the first to endorse her, and then by the end of that week, Obama came. I guess Joe Biden was the first, but there is still another living Democratic president around. We've mentioned his name, Jimmy Carter. He's been in hospice care since February of 2023. We didn't think that we were going to hear anything from Jimmy Carter. Well, think again, as they say. Jimmy Carter turns 100 on October 1st. No president has ever lived to 100 years old. By the way, he currently is the oldest living president ever, but no president has ever made it to the century mark. On October the 1st, Jimmy Carter will turn 100, but the former president is less concerned about his milestone birthday and more focused on making it long enough to vote in the 2024 presidential election. Boy, that's a true politician right there.
Yes.
On Saturday, August the 3rd, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution published an article after speaking with Carter's grandson, Jason, about the former president's 100th birthday. This is the quote. "I'm only trying to make it to vote for Kamala Harris," Carter reportedly told his son Chip a few days ago, according to Jason. Furthermore, Carter has been more alert and interested in politics and the war in Gaza in recent days, his grandson told the publication. The 39th president was diagnosed with cancer in 2015. It has since spread to his brain. In February 2023, Carter entered hospice care in his home in Plains, Georgia, and although doctors indicated he might only have days to live, he has endured for 18 months at this point, and the death of his wife, former First Lady Rosalind Carter, last November at the age of 96. Boy, Mary Ellen, you can't stop Jimmy Carter.
No.
Well, what did you make of this story?
Oh, I just laughed when I saw it. I
Yeah.
thought it was funny. Yeah.
We certainly didn't think we'd hear from Jimmy Carter in the
No.
condition he's in,
No.
and he basically went all in on Kamala, and it made me think of something you said in the first segment of this program, that she excites you more than Obama did, than anybody else has.
Yes,
And I
yes.
think Jimmy Carter might be feeling that same way.
Could be.
For him to say this from hospice care, with his wife gone, it's more important to him to vote than the fact that he's turning 100.
Yeah.
And I love the interesting thing in here to me is that he's been more alert and interested in politics in recent days.
Well, he looked better.
Yeah.
I mean, when he was at her funeral, I didn't think he was going to live very long. But now he looks alert and good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jimmy Carter, that's certainly
Yes.
years past. Christian, what do you make of this certainly full-fledged endorsement from the former president?
Well, I mean, why not? You know, I mean, his election law sort of spurred this new, well, not new Republican Party as we see it, but it kind of put into effect the way rightward shift of the Republican Party with the election of Ronald Reagan. And I feel like he probably feels some responsibility for that still. So for him to, you know, up until his dying breath, he wants to vote for Kamala Harris, and you know, he really knows that his vote for her will do a lot more for, you know, humanity, and that's his big thing, than you know, turning 100. And you mentioned his quote about, you know, he's been alert, you know, more about international issues, especially since the war in Gaza. That's a humanitarian crisis, and that has been his whole, you know, thing since he's left office, is how can he help people and, you know, human condition. And I just think it pains him greatly to see that.
And by the way, it doesn't hurt, I believe, that Jimmy Carter is the only Democratic president ever from Georgia, and
Yes.
Georgia's being considered a
Yes.
swing state now.
Right.
And certainly you would have to say that Jimmy Carter is Georgia's most famous politician.
Yes.
So to have him come out with this,
Yeah.
I don't think hurts Kamala in any
Right,
way.
right.
What do you think, Matt?
Well, you know, I certainly like it. You know, it's just Like Mary Ellen said, it was just funny the way it came about. You know, I didn't expect to be hearing from Jimmy Carter, let alone didn't expect to be hearing that, you know, not concerned about his 100th birthday. He just wants to live long enough to vote for Kamala Harris.
See, but Jimmy Carter was a savvy politician. Whatever people say about him, he wasn't the most savvy when it came to voting and polls, but he was a very smart man. Nobody can take that away from Jimmy Carter. And all he did for Habitat for Humanity, and he won the Nobel Peace Prize after he was out of office.
Mm-hmm.
Mary Ellen, you said you attended Jimmy Carter's inauguration.
Yes.
Joyful event?
Oh, yes. I tell you, it was such a crowd that when you were walking, you didn't know when you came to a curb. And I can remember that so well. You know, it was dangerous. I said, the next time I come, I want to be a little closer to the president.
That's right. Now, Jimmy Carter, you've met Jimmy Carter.
Yes.
What's he like in person?
Oh, he's a nice man, yes. And I sat beside Rosalind so many times at the head table, and we'd have a discussion. I really liked her, you know.
Why? It's interesting. You know, you live long enough, I guess, and all is forgiven. We had talked about, well, I think last episode, that Jimmy Carter was, when he was well, was continuously left off of almost everything the Democrats did.
Yes, he wouldn't be there. I thought, why didn't they invite Jimmy?
He wouldn't be at the conventions.
Right.
And all of a sudden, here near his century mark, he becomes a hero.
So well, he was always saying something that upset somebody.
Yeah, Jimmy Carter didn't hold back.
Was he not invited, or did he just not go?
He was not invited in most cases.
No. He was seen, and I hate to use this terminology at this point, he was seen as a loser. He was a one-term president. He gave us Reagan, a lot of people thought, and gave us 12 years of republicanism, and his party was not very thrilled with him because of that.
Well, you know, it happens. I guess.
It happens.
I don't
but
know.
Now, like I said, you live long enough, and basically all is forgiven, and here we go. I do believe, though, Jimmy Carter did speak at the last convention, I believe in 2016. I don't think he's ever been, he certainly has never been a keynote speaker, but I do think he was there.
Was he?
I think he was in 2016. I think it'd been the first time in a long time that he had been there, but I think he was.
You know, I went to his first, when he was running. That was the first time I was a delegate. But I don't remember him at any of the other presidential things.
I don't think he was.
I don't remember him there.
And I don't think until Obama that he was really even in the pictures when
Probably
they would
not.
do things.
No.
I mean, it took a long time.
No, it was always very noticeable because one of the announcers would always say Jimmy Carter isn't here, you know.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting because when Bill Clinton got in, there were no living Democratic presidents except Carter, and he was seen as the loser, and so they didn't invite him. And then you had people running like Gore, and you had people running like John Kerry, and they wanted to be president. So you wanted Bill Clinton there.
Where are all the former Republican presidents?
Only one living is W. Bush. All the others, they're in heaven. They've went on to their reward.
Well, is that the only one living?
W. Bush is the only one left.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, all of the important Republicans that you used to think of, McClellan and
Dole's gone.
That's right, Dole's gone. Yeah. I didn't realize that George W. is the only one alive. The wives are gone too. Yeah.
All the first ladies are gone at this point. It's just George W. and Laura. But the Democratic, it used to be the other way around. Jimmy Carter was the only past living Democrat. You used to have Ford, Reagan, Bush number 1, Bush number 2. They had a lot.
Yeah.
You know. But I will say, during Trump's years, H.W. Bush was alive, Nancy Reagan was alive, W. Bush was alive, and none of them attended the Trump conventions.
No.
They just weren't...
Not Trump.
They just weren't. They weren't onto that.
Nope.
No. So there you are.
Yeah.
So Jimmy Carter, important.
I mean, I think with any,
I wonder if there'll be a tape message from him at the convention.
I was just
Oh.
thinking
I
that.
bet they could.
Oh.
If he can speak.
I hope he's well enough for that. I would be. I
Oh,
think-
he's well enough to talk, yeah.
I just think that would be just.
Jimmy liked to talk.
But I think with all, with all former Democratic officials, you can always assume that they are going to support their presidential nominee, and unless they are just so out of the mainstream that it's not fathomable. But I think for him to just in his current condition to go out of his way to support her, I think that's a very big deal.
I just think, I mean, if you are going to do a video, if you are going to do something to get people out of their seats at the Democratic convention, you're the oldest living former president ever who wants to live to vote for the nominee. If you can get him just to say a few words into a camera, if you can get a minute out of that, that's going to bring the crowd up. Wouldn't you think, Mary Ellen?
Yes, I think it would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because Bill Clinton's going to be there, and Obama's going to be there, and Biden's going to be there, I certainly think if he can do it by video, it wouldn't hurt.
Did you hear the there was criticism of, in the major speech that Kamala and Walz made, that they didn't thank Biden or didn't make recognition of Biden?
Well, there's been, I'll tell you, since she took over, I mean, Biden has really been all but left to the side.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of felt that would happen because I think, unfortunately, like Jimmy Carter, he was seen as a guy who couldn't win this race. And I think they want to stay as far away from that as possible at this point.
But she did mention him today where I think she was in, where was she, Minnesota?
Yeah, I think today.
Yeah. She mentioned him today.
He's got to be having a horrible time.
Oh, yeah. I would think it would be hard, yeah.
Well, I mean,
And I don't know that he'll speak at the convention. I really don't.
I mean,
don't know.
Can you blame him? Like,
It's been a bad month for him.
I understand it from both perspectives, but like I honestly do feel bad for Joe Biden. Like like they didn't primary him,
but
nothing, and then after the debate, everybody just dogpiled on him, told him he had to go.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll tell you what was telling to me. Did anybody see Nancy Pelosi on the
Yes.
CBS Sunday morning show?
Yeah.
She's got a new book out, and they
Yeah.
tried to press her on the
Yeah.
meeting with Biden and said there's rumors that he's ticked with you, that he doesn't want to see you. And she didn't deny it.
Yeah.
And I think if it was a
Yeah.
flat-out denial, she would have denied it. Because that's not a good thing to have across your neck, which tells you he's not happy.
Yes, but at the end of the day, I hope Biden speaks, and I think if he does, it'll probably be on the first night to
I
rally
would
the
think
troops
that
to
he'll-
pass the torch.
I would think that he'll probably speak. I don't think that he wouldn't.
I think that she did the right thing, though.
I think so, and I think she did the right thing. I just think it's going to take time for that wound to heal.
Well, I don't know if that'll ever heal.
It might
Oh,
not.
I don't know if it would for me,
She said some very interesting things in that. Google it. It's on YouTube. Go to CBS Sunday Morning and watch Nancy Pelosi's interview. And she talks about knowing how to count votes, and it's not a
Yeah.
popularity contest,
Yeah.
and it's not about friends. It's about winning. And that's
Yeah.
she won't talk about the private conversation, but she wouldn't say what was said, but she also wouldn't say that he's not ticked with her, because obviously he probably is. Nancy Pelosi going to speak?
Oh yes,
I think as a woman trailblazer, first female Speaker of the House, she's got to speak.
I've seen.
You got to have women. You got to have
yeah.
Pelosi and Hillary, I think.
I mean, I have seen some people say that this is the Pelosi ticket. She, sort of led the pressure campaign against Biden. And then, Walz only started to get serious into the conversation when there were leaks that she was very fond of him because they were in the House together for a long time. He was one of...
Really?
Yes.
And she's running again.
Yes, and
She's running again.
He was one of the wave babies of 2006 when that helped make her the Speaker. He just had a really long storied record in the House. So she has been when former House members or House members when they run in races, she's quick to support them.
If not for Nancy Pelosi and people like Hillary Clinton, could there have been a Kamala Harris?
I don't know. It would depend on the situation where he Biden picked her for his vice president. That's a wonderful step up. And then he doesn't run, and she's in. I mean, how many times is that going to happen? When you're in your life and things like that happen, you just go with it, and that's what she's doing. She's going with it terrifically.
Do you think for Jimmy Carter and maybe for you, Mary Ellen, and other people, is this historic? The idea that this could be the first female president?
Oh yes, it's historic. It's wonderful.
Because a lot of people
Yeah.
I've heard say they didn't know if they would see this.
Well, I didn't know if I was going to see it.
Right.
After Hillary, I thought, oh, gee whiz, when is this going to happen? You
Right.
know?
And then all of a sudden, with 3 months to go, here it comes.
Yeah, all of a sudden.
All
Yeah.
of a sudden.
Right.
Do you think that's... I think there's something to that. Now, I don't know about the situation, about the way she got in, but I think there is something to the woman factor here. And I think in the abortion year, I think there is something to that.
Yeah, you hear how loud they cheer when they mention abortion?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I would argue that the fact that she, I've been talking about change, something different. She is a woman, and she is a woman of color. Those are two different things. That Joe Biden, white guy; Trump, a white guy. This is just something new, and the possible reality that she'll be the first female president of the United States. That's exciting to so many people, and they are just so excited that they can potentially be part of that.
Well, it's interesting because what we brought up here are two firsts. Certainly Obama was the first African-American president, and she would be the first woman. So there's that. It's very interesting, but I don't know. Can that carry her to a win?
But you've got Trump saying, I didn't know she was black.
Yes, he did say that.
Well, she can't run on being a woman because, that's what everyone will think of her as. They won't think of her based on what she stands for. Her and Tim Walz, he's been talking a lot about joy and being, a happy warrior and things like that. Mm-hmm. She needs to lean into, let's give the Democrats something to run on instead of just being the anti-Trump. If they can, really go out and show their workers first, people first, freedom first message, and they can get that out there to the American people in an effective way, and show that vote for not only us but vote for your Sherrod Browns and vote for your local Democratic congressional candidates. And if they will also be good stewards of that message. If you have a strong, from top to bottom, that's just gonna carry her, because there's so much more at stake than just this presidential race.
Matt, you've often talked about where you stand. I'm not going to ask you who you're going to vote for, but we're not enthusiastic about Joe Biden, but certainly have said you're not going to vote for Donald Trump. So is any of this making any impression on you? The popularity of Kamala Harris, the possibility of a first female president, her pick as vice president being very bombastic, Jimmy Carter trying to live to make this election?
So what's the question? You just
Does this have it?
You listed
there
off
was
a whole bunch of things.
But
man.
I start with a question? I know when we replay this tape, I had a question in there.
Okay.
Did you tune me out until I started listing off
I guess,
things?
apparently.
Does any of that have any impact on you?
Well,
For the second time. Don't worry. We'll get it. We'll get it straightened out here. Maybe you didn't know I was coming to him.
I don't know that I could like pinpoint anything specifically, but I do know that I definitely like Kamala more than I liked Joe Biden. But I think that she speaks well. I think that Walz was a good pick. I think he's been great for the Democratic Party in Minnesota. He's got a lot of work done in there. Mm-hmm. I think that they're overall running. In the short amount of time that they've been running a campaign, I think that they're running a better campaign than Biden did in the time period he was running a campaign.
And speaking of Walz in Minnesota, I would love to see at the Democratic convention Governor Jesse Ventura.
That's what
Jesse
people say.
He was so...
Former governor of Minnesota, for people who don't remember.
So disgusted by...
How could you forget?
That's right.
He's so disgusted by politics, but he finally takes a step to endorse a Democrat. I think when Walz ran in 2022 for the second term, he was endorsed by Ventura.
Really?
Yes.
Ventura endorsed
Yes.
Listen, I'm going to make a prediction right now. I'm going to make a prediction. Now, this is...
Okay.
Okay. Jesse Ventura will be at the Democratic convention. If that's true, and I'm not saying you're wrong here, but I wasn't aware of that. If that's true, Jesse Ventura will be there giving a speech for Kamala Harris, and I'll tell you why. Because who did Trump have? Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. They fit.
Well, if you're going to balance that out, you pick the one who was the politician. Yes. I'm telling you.
I hadn't thought about him.
Wouldn't that be smart?
Well, I think you're probably right.
I bet he'll be there.
Yeah.
If they can get him there, I bet he'll be there, and I bet he will speak horribly about Hulk Hogan.
That's
genius.
That is super interesting to me because...
By the way, Jesse Ventura and Hulk Hogan hate each other.
Oh,
I did not know
they do.
this.
I think he'll do it just to spite Hulk Hogan.
What's the issue?
You didn't know what a show! What a topic to get into. Why Jesse Ventura and Hulk Hogan hate each other? No, it's true that the issue I never thought about. God, it's weird how things come together.
Yeah.
When they were friends, when they started out, and when Hulk Hogan became the most popular, Jesse Ventura always wanted to unionize wrestling because it was independent contractors.
Really?
And Jesse Ventura, before the second WrestleMania, we just went to WrestleMania 40, got in the locker room, all the publicity had went out, and he gathered the wrestlers, made sure no office people were in there, and said, "This is our chance, guys, to unionize. If we say we're not going to show up, they're going to have to give us," because all the publicities went out, they've sold those tickets, that pay-per-view, they're going to have to give it to us. And somebody went to Vince McMahon, who owned the company, and stooged Ventura out that he was trying to start a union, and Vince McMahon called him up and said, "If you bring up union again, I'll fire you." Yeah. And he quashed the union, and that's why wrestling never got the union. Do you know who squealed on Jesse Ventura?
I'm going to assume it was Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan, and Jesse Ventura's been carrying that anger around for years.
That union thing can cause a lot of trouble.
Well, if the Democrats
I was involved in it.
Well, and if the Democrats are courting a union, Hulk Hogan did get a lot of press for endorsing Trump. Jesse Ventura, you know what?
Jesse Ventura, if he's at the Democratic convention, that'll be interesting to me because I don't know if anybody ever asked him about it, but way back when RFK had before he had picked his VP, Jesse Ventura was one of was in like the top 3.
Yeah.
Well, I think every cycle he says might be for
but
president.
People like it.
Yes.
For whatever reason, he won as governor of Minnesota. I don't know. I don't know if he would endorse. He did endorse Walz. I'm so shocked that he endorsed a Democrat.
I didn't
know that until you told me.
I'm not entirely sure he would endorse Harris because his whole life he's been so anti.
He said he would not endorse Democrats or he wouldn't vote for either one.
I think if
give a speech
because there will be I'm sure a segment of one of the nights dedicated to union leaders. They will all speak. People like Sean Fain, things like that. If you get him up there telling his union story, because I just heard this story the first time the other day, and I thought it was fascinating. If you tell it to tens of millions of Americans on primetime TV, they're going to find it interesting. They're going to see, these two wrestlers, combating each other. Who's not going to love that?
This is entertainment.
It would be the most entertaining thing.
Well, because
like Hulk Hogan, it's just mind blowing.
I'd like to see Taylor Swift there.
Oh, that'd be I think they should. I think they should try to get Taylor Swift to be there as like a surprise, like celebrity guest, and then just.
Well, I tell you, somebody who might need to repent out loud is George Clooney at this point.
Yes.
For what he did.
What has he done?
Well, why?
Well, I think because he made so much publicity by telling Biden to step aside.
Yeah, but it was helpful.
It did end up being helpful.
It was helpful, and he had the right to do it,
He did.
Yeah.
But do you think he would help in any way? Do you think he would help in any way speaking there, having the celebrities out there?
I bet he would if they asked him.
Right, and I think he might carry a lot of weight with some people. Who's the... I mean, obviously Taylor Swift is number one. But of the Democrats that they have lined up, who do you want Jennifer Aniston there after that little contretemps she had with J.D. Vance over at Cat Ladies?
Who I want there, I want not so much celebrities. I just want people who have experience knocking doors in their community, who have a good idea for things that are wrong and what needs fixed. So some of people who have had issues with their local and state governments and who have been trying and sometimes very red like you've got the Oklahomas, you've got the Nebraskas, you've got places like Florida where things just terrible things are happening. You have to get people sharing those stories so they know what Republicans, not necessarily nationally, but at your state and local levels, what they are capable of. I think that would be arguably a stronger message for Democrats to get a lot of people like that up. Sure, have a couple celebrities, but the people who can really deliver the Democratic message with a kind of experience in that area would be far better.
So like a grassroots push?
Yes, more grassroots.
I don't know. People like the celebrities.
Yeah,
They do like the
we like
celebrity.
celebrities.
We do. We are a celebrity-driven culture.
Yeah.
And the day after Trump spoke, with his speech not being received so well, one thing that did get a lot of attention that next day was Hulk Hogan. Everybody
ripping his shirt.
ripping his shirt
If
off.
he hadn't ripped his shirt, I
it was
don't
just
know
an
that he would have been
entertaining
on.
thing.
Yeah.
It was just an entertaining thing.
Well, and so, but
I don't think anybody expected Hulk Hogan to be one of the speakers.
But if Bill from Idaho had ripped his shirt off, nobody would care. But Hulk Hogan doing it, people care. It's a thing.
Well, I would make the argument that their stories will be what
I think
people, and if you put a grassroots organizer up, one of them or two prime time right before a big speech, that's when the news channels will be showing the convention. That's if you have the right story, you're going to catch a lot of attention.
But I think you'll have the Jimmy Carter factor, though,
Yes.
because you will. If Bill doesn't speak, if Bill Clinton, if Hillary doesn't speak, if Obama doesn't speak, if Michelle doesn't speak, if Biden doesn't, they'll be going, where are they? Why aren't they a part of this? What is this all about? I think if you leave, and you can't have them speak at 3 o'clock on Monday afternoon.
Yeah, that's when it's going to be
Yeah.
if it's somebody unimportant.
Yeah. So you got to have the former presidents, and the Democratic Party is just full of them right now, 4 former presidents, and one being the current president. It's going to be hard to balance that. But if you can have a former or current president on every night, I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, well, and we gavel in at 4 every night. I figured that out the other day.
Oh, 4
But,
o'clock's when it starts.
Yes.
Well, you don't want Bill Clinton at 4 o'clock.
No, you want him at
Yeah.
you want him at 8:30.
But what about the first ladies?
But-
what about Jill and Biden and Michelle Obama and Hillary? And
See, that's the great thing that all of these presidents or former presidents have been married, because their spouse is almost as well known as they are, so that you can have mix them up multiple different nights. That's going to rally people. And you've seen all of these polls the last couple of years. The pollsters were polling about Michelle Obama. They should put her on last night. She was probably the most popular.
what about Oprah?
I don't know if she would do it, but I'm sure she would.
Oh, she'd
help.
be good too. Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's an interesting dynamic they have right now, because you usually have the vice president on Wednesday
Yes.
and you have the president on Thursday. And boy, Obama is hard to follow. Boy, Bill Clinton's hard to follow. So that's going to be hard to balance, because I don't think you'd want Bill Clinton on Monday and Barack Obama on Tuesday and then Walz on Wednesday. I think that'd be tough. You might want one of them to prop him up.
Well, you just saw Walz follow Shapiro the other night, and a lot of people have compared Shapiro to Obama. Even my grandfather, I heard that he was listening on the radio, and he thought that was Obama last night. Shapiro. So
It's a good speech.
Yeah. So I think
He
if
was
you
good.
if you put the Hillarys, you put the Bill Clintons, you put the Obamas, you put them on Thursday night and Friday night right before, you're just going to have so much attention. It's going to be great.
Well, it's all going to happen. You've got a big slate there, and will Jesse Ventura show up? Will Taylor Swift show up? Will Oprah show up? What's going to happen? George Clooney, is he going to say anything?
Yeah.
It's the Democratic Convention 2024 from Chicago, and guess what? You're going to hear about it on this station, because Christian is going to call in and give us updates from what is going on, what's the reaction, what's going on the floor, and it's a big time for us here, so we're very happy about that. Christian, thank you for coming in again.
course.
Matt, Mary Ellen, it's always a pleasure to see you.
Yes.
And boy, we are full steam ahead into this election cycle and season. Trump versus Harris, how will it all turn out? We'll keep following as this 90-day period continues. For this episode of The Exchange, Scott Spears heading for the dugout.